my name is Kimberly and welcome back to my channel. I am headed off to Paris, France this week for my annual trip to ICC's Mediation Week. ICC Mediation Week includes a mediation competition that has 66 international teams competing from all over the globe. Over the course of the last 6 months, I've contacted a lot of my international mediation friends who are mediation experts, and I've asked them to make a tip video just for you. The individual videos, most of them, are already posted here on our channel, and I'll put a link to the list of those in the description down below. But I have put together and compiled for you a huge list of tips from all the judges that will be at the mediation competition in Paris this week. And we even have a tip from the very first winner of the mediation competition 15 years ago. So before we get started, I thought I would kick it off with a brand new tip. If there's one tip that I could give to students who are competing in all sorts of mediation competitions, that would be to reread the score sheet right before the competition starts. The judges are looking through that score sheet and they are judging you based on exactly what is written. Some of the judges have a lot of experience and they're used to doing this. Other judges, maybe it's only their first or second time judging, and so they really look at the criteria on the score sheet. So if you want to get points on that score sheet, you need to read the competition score sheet. Let's move on to tips from other professionals from around the globe. Our first tips come from Jim Lawrence. Jim was the winner of the first ICC mediation competition. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hi, my name is Jim Lawrence. I'm the Executive Director of the Blakely Advocacy Institute at the University of Houston Law Center in Houston, Texas. I want to talk with you quickly about two things relating to competing in mediation competitions. The first is being curious, and the second is using the mediator. So what does being curious actually mean? So when you get a set of problems for a competition, you start working on those problems. You practice, you read them, you analyze them, you practice some more. And so as you're doing this, you're doing it in a vacuum because you don't actually know what the other side's confidential information actually is. So you're creating a bias about the way that you think about the problem. So when you get to a competition, what you need to do is to stay curious about what the other side's confidential information actually is. Not what you think it is, not what you've prepared for it to be, but what it actually is. And being curious allows you to ask questions because that's what we as humans do when we're curious about something. We ask questions about it and we explore it and we get the other person to talk to us about what we're curious about. So be curious. The second thing is using the mediator. For most competitions, that's a scored category, and so teams are always looking for ways to use the mediator. One way to use the mediator, a tip that I would give you, is to use the mediator to summarize a topic or to summarize a period of conversation of offers that have happened between the teams. This does two things. One, it lets you make sure that the mediator has both parties on the same page, because oftentimes the parties miss each other and they're not actually saying the same thing. So hearing the mediator say it is a way to make sure that you're on the same page with the other team. The other thing it does is it creates an opportunity for you to use the mediator in a way that's productive in the mediation. It's not just using the mediator to score points like, Mr. Mediator, would you write our agenda on the board? That's not really using the mediator for something that's productive. But summarizing, helping the parties get on the same page, that's a productive use of the mediator.
Our next tip is from the Grow ambassador from Italy. Let's hear what Marco has to say.
Hi everyone, my name is Marco Imperiale and I'm a lawyer and mediator coming from Milan, Italy. I'm also the head of innovation at LCA, which is a leading Italian firm. I would like to mention a couple of skills today active listening and team building. But before that, I apologize in advance for my voice because I am a little bit sick. And maybe this is a lesson on its own, Work never stops. You gotta do what you gotta do. So, regarding active listening, I believe in the history of words. There's a difference between viewing and seeing, and there's a difference between passive listening and active listening. So, passive listening is, and thinking about something else, Active listening means being totally focused on what the other party is saying to us. It means also being focused on the elements that are not strictly related to the language, tone of the voice, the breaks, the body language. If you want to push it to the next level, it means also that our brain is so focused on the other party that we are not thinking about what we are going to reply after. You can take a couple of minutes after to absorb, digest, reflect, and going back to the other party. This is a sign of maturity. It's highly appreciated from the mediator, from the other party, and judges appreciate that as well. Regarding the second element, team building, it can be team building, with the council if you're the party, or with the party if you're the council. It can be team building with the other party. It can be team building with the mediator. So, for example, with your peer, it can be acting as one, but at the same time showing to the table, to the other party or parties and the mediator, that you are something more than the sum of two elements. So from my words you can understand that there's not a magic formula about the relationship between counsel and client, It's not a matter of speaking 80-20, 70-30, I'm speaking about this and you're speaking about that. It's more about giving to the other party and to the mediator the feeling that there is a harmony between you and you're on the same page in terms of interaction. Regarding the interaction with the mediator, don't forget that the mediator is a source, a great source of information. And even though it is bound by confidentiality, as you probably know, it can provide a fresh and dynamic perspective about what's going on that sometimes if you're involved in the process, you don't have. And there's nothing wrong with that. So try to use the mediator because he's there for you, and I can tell you that in real life you're paying a lot of money for his expertise. So good luck for the competition.
Let's head over to Goa, India, and hear what Mendes has to say. Mendes has not only been a judge at the ICC for several years, he's also been a coach.
Well, good day, friends. I'm Mr. Ethelwald Mendes from Goa, India. I'm a lawyer by profession and an accredited mediator, and I'm happy to see all of you try your hand at mediation, especially in a competition like this. My very important task that I want you all to look at is in the opening statement. Don't look at an opening statement as merely something to start the process, but the opening statement must carry the passion, it must carry the facts, and most importantly, it must convey why you have come there, what you are planning to do, and what you want the other person to do. Take this as a very important step, because I have seen in several competitions, students take the opening statement as merely an agenda setting. Don't do that. Secondly, I have seen students who come for mediation as if all they require to do is only read the problem and the confidentials. Please do research just as you would do in an arbitration. Research the terminology, research the facts, and see what else you can add to the problem, because in ideating, if you do a little research, you'll be able to come up with much more better ideas, much more better planning.
The next tips come from Cezary Rogula. He's our GROW ambassador from Poland, and also a former competitor at the ICC.
If there are two things I would advise you not to do during mediation competition, the first thing would be, please do not try to fill in the gaps in the fact pattern given to you. In fact, there are no gaps there. There's nothing to fill in. And it's actually very realistic, because in the real life practicing of mediation, there are instances when you do not have all the information needed, or that you think that is needed to resolve the case, and the case can still be settled. So if during your preparation or during the actual mediation, you've developed this wonderful, life-changing concept, and then a thought crosses your mind, can it be perceived as being within reasonable interpretation of facts? Please make an assumption it's not, and concentrate only on what you do have in the fact pattern. It's enough to settle and to mediate the particular disputes. Now, the second thing, please do not try to rush things. Compared to court proceedings, mediation is super fast. And of course, time management is very, very important. So if you're stuck on a particular issue for, let's say, 20 minutes, perhaps it's good time for a caucus. But also please bear in mind that we're not looking at covering all the issues, because we do know that you have a very limited time during each round. And please bear in mind that you do not get any extra points for reaching a settlement. Perhaps instead of trying to cover all the topics and every particular word of this case, maybe it's better to concentrate on showing us all the skills that are essential for practicing mediation, either as mediator or party representative. So use of a mediator and mediation process, it's not negotiation process. Information sharing and gathering, advancing interests of the parties, active listening, developing skills. Please try to show that all during competition, instead of trying to cover the entire mediation within that limited time.
Last year, the students at the ICC gave me an award for their best experience of feedback from a judge. So here's another tip from me. So speaking of the word thank you, I want to talk to you a little bit today about culture. So a lot of times at mediation competitions, we'll hear people say, thank you, and thank you, and thank you to the mediator, and thank you for thanking the mediator. And we hear a lot of thank yous at the very beginning in your introductions. So while I'm not discouraging you from being courteous to one another, sometimes it's a little bit too much thanking. In real life, so commercial realism, we don't thank the mediator for taking thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars from us, or hundreds of rupees or thousands of rupees from us, for showing up to the mediation session that day. The mediator in real life is paid to be there, and you don't need to overly thank them. So be kind of careful with that. It's okay if the mediator thanks the parties or encourages the parties in agreeing to come to the table and getting ready for settlement. The second thing that I would like to talk to you about, so tip number 2, would be being careful with the phrases that we use, and make sure that you're not using something that is culturally specific. Let me give you a brief example. One of the problems that I wrote for another competition in India, I had talked about a screen print on a t-shirt, and one of the parties called it a tattoo. So they changed the word, and there was a lot of confusion in the problem, because the other side thought that they meant a tattoo that you would get on your skin, or some sort of sticker or something on your skin versus a tattoo on your t-shirt. So we have a lot of colloquialisms in things that we say, and we need to be really careful. If you see the other party getting a confused look on their face, then that might be a good time for you to reframe or to turn to the mediator and say, Mr. Mediator or Madam Mediator, could you summarize what was just said? So that can give you an opportunity to gain points with the mediator, gain a better understanding, and make sure that you're all on the same page. I would like to thank you for tuning in today.
Let's go back to Italy and hear from our GROW ambassador, Raffaella.
I'm Raffaella Pileri. I'm from Italy and I'm a GROW ambassador in Italy. I'd like to share with you my experience for international mediation competition or national mediation competition as a professional, as a judge. So, two tips for you. One regards the use of information. We have general information and confidential information. So when we talk about general information, it means that we can talk freely about it, we can share it and use it because we already shared, all the teams shared them. As regards confidential information, my advice is to use it all. Confidential information are there for a reason, and I'm telling you, it's not just only about competition, it's about the reality of a negotiation or a mediation. And if you want to be effective, use the information and share the information in a strategic way in exchange for something, and to find out what the other person is looking for, what the other party is looking for. Second tip is a don't. Please do not just say that it's okay to say we are here to find an agreement, to be collaborative, and say we would really like to find an agreement, but please don't just keep on repeating it. If you say it, show it. So use your information, for example, as a way to make a concession and thus have reciprocity from the other party. Thank you very much and have fun.
Let's hear from David Adams, a GROW ambassador from the United States and the finalist judge at this past year's ICC Asia Pacific Mediation Competition in Australia.
Today I'd like to talk to you about a few things I personally would like to see people not do during a mediation competition. The first is around no. No is a perfectly acceptable answer to all sorts of things. But when it comes to a competition, if someone has made an offer, if your answer is just no, that's incomplete. No is not a counteroffer. You need to expand on your no. Are you telling them no to the entire thing? Or are you just telling them no to half of it? If that's the case, tell the other person that you're only saying no to a portion of it by telling them at first what you're willing to say yes to. When all you say is no, you leave the other party wondering what's happening. And if they're not adept at it enough to turn around and go back and ask the question, which part of my offer didn't meet your interests, then you're going to end up chasing each other around the table and trying to guess what the other party is thinking the entire time. Now, that responsibility is on the other party as well. If you make an offer and someone says no, and that's all they say, don't scrap your entire offer. Go back and ask, what part of this offer didn't meet your needs? That way you can get the other party to give you some more information and tell you, well, we can really live with this portion of it here, but this part right here just isn't something my client can live with. It gives you the opportunity to expand. So remember, no is not a complete answer and no is not a counteroffer. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about is caucus. And I can tell you as a judge for these competitions, so many other judges and I feel the same way, do not call for caucus for the sake of calling for caucus. Yes, you're scored on an effective use of the mediator. Yes, you're scored on how effectively you use caucus. But you don't call for a caucus if you don't need one. You don't always need one. If you hit an impasse, that's a great time to call for a caucus and try and talk to the mediator and find out where they think you're going astray, or see if they have something to offer you in a way of kickstarting the conversation again in a productive manner. If you have bad news that you want to share with the other party, but you don't necessarily want to be seen as the bad guy and you'd like to have the mediator find a way to share that with the other party, that's a great reason to call for caucus. Use the mediator. But don't call for it just because you know it's on a scoring sheet and you think you have to call for it. That's how you get deducted points. Again, use the caucus appropriately. Use it when it's needed. And if it's not needed, don't call for it at all.
Next up is our GROW ambassador from Dubai, Shaun.
I understand that you want to be mediation stars, meaning that you want to help people with their disputes in your future careers, and or maybe success in the upcoming Lex Infinitum competition in Goa in January, which you have entered and have started preparing for. Let me say, don't expect either to be easy. I'm here to give you some guidance, which will hopefully assist you towards success with either your future careers involved in mediation and also with your efforts in the upcoming Lex Infinitum mediation competition. Due to the nature of the process, there are two substantive dimensions to be dealt with: mediation and negotiation. The following recommendations of mine should be firmly at the front of your minds throughout the process. First of these, you must always focus on your proper role in the dispute. Don't get off track. Stay within the boundaries of your role, please. Whether you're one of the disputing parties, whether you are a legal representative, stroke mediation advocate, or whether you are the mediator, you must stay within the boundaries of your particular role. If you lose focus and stray from your role, you may well confuse the others, including the judges, and that would compromise your performance and the outcome. And we don't want you to do that. We want you to perform well, both in the competition and in your future careers. So don't stray. Don't try to be one of the other parties. Don't step over into their territory. There are different ways you can clarify any misunderstandings. If you feel that they should be doing something, don't step into the role and try to take it on yourself. Be who you are. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to be me. So that's the first recommendation. Stay on track. Stick to your roles. My second recommendation: you genuinely attempt to engage with the others involved. And you do this by communicating openly within the parameters of your respective roles, within the facts and the evidence, within the parameters of your interests, and also within the parameters of the mediation process. Engage the other side in a constructive, meaningful, genuine manner. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to be friendly, but try not to appear pretentious or false. Simply listen, ask questions to clarify, and respond constructively. Genuinely try to engage and develop rapport with the others. And this applies to all of you, irrespective of your roles.
Our final tip is from Mauricio. Mauricio is from Colombia.
Hello everyone, my name is Mauricio Chaves from Colombia. I would like to recommend or to suggest in a mediation competition, if you are a negotiator and if you want to offer an apology, that apology should be a real one. Otherwise, the other team or the other party maybe will think that is a fake one. So give the apology from the bottom of your heart, but after the apology, give an idea or how to compensate something as a gift or something like that. But don't forget that the apology should be a real one. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this competition tip video. If you like videos like these, don't forget to subscribe down below, and don't forget to click on that notification bell so that you can be notified every time we make more mediation videos like these.